Okay, I'll just hit record, man, and we'll just talk shit. It's all good. Um,
Yeah.
hey, how are you all going? It's Jai, that Aussie Metal guy here with Crank.com, and with that, metalstation.com. And today I'm getting to have a chat with Damo from Death Plague. Really cool band. I've been into them for a while, done a written interview, over a year ago now. So it's good to finally be able to do a face-to-face one. I really enjoy getting back and having a chat to people, especially after I've done a written one. So cheers, man.
Yeah, man. No, definitely. Thanks for squeezing me in with the time. And yeah, it's a bit chaotic.
Yeah, it must be good though for you guys to finally be able to get out and start playing some more live shows again. I noticed you've been playing a few live shows. You've done the Odin Sun Fest and a few other gigs are popping up all over the place. So it must be really good for you guys to fucking get back in and get on stage.
Oh, it's absolutely incredible. It's like as soon as we play a show, like another two shows come up, and it's just, I don't know, it's really weird at the moment. The vibe of live music is really, really, really cool. So it's good to get out there, meet new people, gain new fans and stuff. It's really good.
Yeah, man, you've been busy making music as well, flat out getting in and doing that too, which is really good to see.
Yeah, so we recorded our EP with Adam Merker, and it's so different from how we originally thought it was going to turn out. Like, he's like Adam just came through and directed us and made us sound a million times better if you ask me, and it's really paid off. It's really good to have that sort of support there, especially when you go and record and you go and, create your music, and somebody else's, like an outside opinion is always really good to have. It's very valuable. So we're very grateful for it.
Yeah, what was the whole process like making this album there, mate? Because I know you were locked down for a while. When did you start working on this? Because I know it's something you've wanted to do for a while as well.
Yeah, so we didn't do the whole, oh, let's go in for a week and we'll just, smash it all out. It was like, so this next 2 weeks we're going to do one guitar, and then the following 2 weeks we'll do the other guitar. Like, it was all really broken up periodically. This is what we're going to focus on, and this is what we're going to do. And when it came to like the vocals, we were doing like, I was going in there one night and we were going through the actual lyric content and then constructing how we were going to lay that over the tracks. And then the next night we were actually recording it. But we were probably doing that, with a week or two in between as well. So we weren't actually rushing it. It was a really drawn out process. Which was good, because you could reflect on what you were actually doing and listen back and go, oh, okay, well, maybe the next song we should be incorporating, this sort of structure or something, so it's really cool.
Yeah, can you tell me about some of the themes and influences that kind of helped inspire you when you're doing the songwriting for this? And
Yeah, definitely. So, at the time that we sort of entered into the studio, I think it's safe to say all hell just broke loose. Like, I was just starting my journey with a lot of family law dealings. Um, I had I pretty much didn't get to see my kids for over 6 months, and to me, I think a lot of that was fueling what I was writing. I was writing about the gender bias sort of system that goes with family court. I was writing about the monetized agendas that go with, lawyers, courts, governments, absolutely everything, and it just really pissed me off that much that I wanted to expose it, push it out there, and try to inform people who aren't in that situation that, hey, this this element exists out there, and it's not good. Like, it needs to be stopped. Like, we shouldn't be, appeasing any sort of government body or any magistrates court or family law act on practically decision making on our lives and on our children's
lives.
They don't deserve any of that. I mean, they weren't asked to be born, so they shouldn't be dragged through the whole process at all. It's absolute bullshit that it even exists to begin with. And I think, to me, I grew up sort of a product of the system myself, and I just know how squeezed tight you're pretty much just another digit on a budget that doesn't exist. And the thing is, the government keeps fueling that because they're enjoying it, they're loving it. It's actually adding to their agenda, all of their tax system and when you look into it, like, everything is so tied in, and you're like, holy shit, like, this is bigger than just two people separating and this child. Like, this is a whole agenda that's being pushed by all of these other, entities within the system, and it is rife. It shouldn't exist.
No, it shouldn't. And there's a whole industry behind it. They've made this an industry, you know what I mean? Parents fighting off against each other and then kind of telling you what's best for their kids without having no idea what the child wants as well. And
that's exactly right, and when you start getting into the grand scheme of it all, it's like, there's a reason why they want mothers to stay at home with the kids. There are reasons why they want fathers to have limited access. And it all comes down to different monetized agendas. It comes down to the tax system. It comes down to everything.
It does. And things like this really annoy me, Damo, because I'm the same as you, man. I love my kids, man. When I separated from the mother, I just wanted to be there for my daughter and do the best thing for my daughter. And, child alienation is not good at all. And then you see people like us that want to be there for their kids and do everything that's child-focused and orientated for our children. And then you see other people out there that just don't want to have their kids. They go out and have kids, and then that pisses me off even more as a father, for someone who would fight every day for my child to be there. Then you see these other guys having kids that won't be there, and then people like us are getting a fucking bum rap because of arseholes running out there just fucking, having kids all over the place and then not standing up to be a dad. So when you see people like us that are just busting our ass every day to be there for our kids, and then it happens with females as well. They do it. They walk away from our kids, and it just annoys me when I see parents not wanting to be there and not wanting to step up for their kids.
Yeah, that's right. And somebody actually said on a post not too long ago, and I fully 100% support what he said, and that was child support is meant to be there for absent fathers.
Yeah.
Not for failed relationships.
Exactly.
Not for them to actually sit there and, just capitalize on somebody else. I mean, when I'm going through mediation, like, I had to walk out of my first lot of mediation. I didn't agree with anything, simply because the other party could not agree. Yeah. Like, they didn't know how to mediate. And when they're not equipped with the tools to be able to mediate, they've got these lawyers that are standing beside them or sitting beside them. And believe me, those lawyers, they've already spoken, and they know your attitude, they know what you're about, and they know what they're going to push for. Because in the whole grand scheme of things, if they can drag it out as long as they can, that's where they're going to get their money. And they continually do it, And when it comes to mediation also, here's another thing. It's like, you can go to mediation, but you don't have to do a thing. You don't have to agree. And you can't use anything in mediation in the way of legal proceedings of court. You can't use it as evidence. You can't turn around and say, oh, well, the reason why they said that was for this reason. It doesn't get looked at. You're not allowed to use it in court proceedings. So mediation is just an absolute joke. But yet they're putting everybody through it like it's some sort of, oh, well, you've got to do this.
I know. And they do tell you when you go in and do that as well. Like, they go, oh, well, it's not legal unless you do this with it or do that. So it's like, and then to try and get, sometimes to get the other person to go along, go, oh, well, now we've got to take this to a lawyer and get them both signed. It's still paying the lawyers' pockets as well, isn't it? So what's the point of doing all this mediation if it's not really that bound in concrete? You have to go do these extra steps to make it legal.
That's right. That's right. And the funny thing is, like, I don't know how, but like I don't have my lawyer added on Facebook. Like, you should never have a lawyer added on Facebook anyway. But the last couple of times I've gone into the office, he's like, hey man, do you know how much I'm getting paid for this here that legal aid are paying? And it's like, why are you telling me how much you're getting paid? Have you been listening to my rants? Have you been watching what I've been saying? And he says it, and it's still like, wow, you're complaining about earning the same amount that I earn in a matter of hours. Like, congratulations. Like,
yeah,
it's just, wow, the cream of the crop just is right there. They absolutely love it. They thrive on it. And that's all it is. It's just one big business. And with the so-called upheaval of the family law courts, I mean, it's very two-sided. You've got some people saying, yeah, this will be great. We finally have a fighting chance. Then you've got the others saying, oh, no, we don't want things to change because that's not cool. Yeah. And then you've got the lawyers going, whoa, come on home. This isn't going to benefit us at all.
Yeah, I know. That is exactly like that as well. So I would have really, that sounds like a full-on time as well, and really impacted you. And I hear now you got the kids and you're seeing them pretty regularly as well now.
Yeah. So I'm still long-term goals.
Yeah.
Long-term goals. You've always got to look at it as a process, and you need to go through that process, and you just got to be smart about it. It's very unfortunate that what happened to me happened. I'm sure I'm not the first, and I'm definitely not the last. And the more and more we actually speak up about it and voice it and push for change, the more and more that slowly and slowly things are going to start changing. And, hopefully 10 years from now, 15 years from now, my kids won't have to put up with this shit.
Yeah.
Because it won't be there. And you know what? I've actually thought the last probably 4 or 5 months, if we really want to stop most of this shit, like, it's simple. Abolish marriage, for one.
Yeah.
Do you know how hard it is to get out of a marriage?
Yep, I do. I just recently got out of one at the end of last year, dude. It was terrible, man. And
why is it so hard?
I had to get all these paperwork signed and stat decks, and then and then it was just that easy for her. She's walked over and gone, I'm separated now, and they're like, okay, there you go. And it took me ages to get all that sorted, and I was happier the day that ended than when the day it started. So I'm totally with you on the whole ending the marriage thing, because that was the biggest mistake of my life. And got there, bought the ticket, took the photos, never do that shit again.
Yeah, tick that box, put that in, I don't give a shit. It's like, it's absolutely incredible that today, like, you can understand, back when, like, fine, you're back in the heyday, but nowadays, like, nobody should have that sort of control over somebody. They shouldn't have that sort of ownership over somebody, and that goes for normal relationships as well. I mean, if you're texting a person that you're with 500 times a day, because you're feeling like you're not getting enough attention, well, that's sort of a you problem, isn't it?
Yeah.
It isn't that other person's problem. But you have these narcissists, you have these complete assholes that are in these relationships, and they pressure, they push, and they manipulate, they do everything that they can. And knowing that these people are out there now more than ever, like, it really makes you think, well, why don't we just abolish marriage? It's outdated, it's old, there's no point to it. I mean, some people will go, oh, but there are marriages there are marriages that work. Okay. If you want to keep marriages, then let's start up yearly audits. You go to, a psych once a year, you both get seen, boxes are ticked, great, you're still married. Boxes aren't ticked, right, you're divorced, that's it.
Yeah.
Done. And they just go everything 50-50 down the middle, that fucking day.
Yeah.
And if the other person isn't happy, then provide evidence, actual evidence, none of this falsified DV bullshit that they like to throw around like candy bars on a daily basis. Like, actually produce some evidence, some hard facts. And I just believe, all of that sort of shit just shouldn't even exist now. There's no point. It's too old, it's too outdated, and it's rubbish.
Yeah, it really is, and it kind of puts you over the barrel a lot with things as well. It puts you in a tricky
really
spot.
does. I for a couple of years, I was on that edge. I was very depressed. I was basically on the couch. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to feel. I didn't know what to say, what to speak of. I couldn't talk to anybody. It was at a point where I'm going down to the shops and getting a coffee, and I'm getting in shit for it. Like, I just, couldn't have any friends. Who are you texting? Like, all of this shit. And it's like...
Sounds like my story, Damo. That's how I was in the end too. So for me, by the time it was over, I was like, thank you. Like, anything is better than this. I was just, bye. You know what I mean? And that's the thing. When you leave like that, it's kind of, especially with a house you built for 14 years and something, you kind of... I walked away going, look, I just want my kid, dude. I don't want anything of yours. I don't want anything from that time of me. All I want is my kid and my shit, and I am out of here. And I feel better for it now. It's been a tough 6 months, and I've had all types of shit and hell, but the decision I made to leave that was the best fucking thing in my life.
Yeah, well, I think the thing is, with COVID, like, COVID has actually been a blessing in disguise. For a number of different reasons, and this is one of the reasons. People have sort of reflected in the downtime that they were given, and they've gone, hold on a second, have I really been doing this? Have I really been stuck in this situation? Have I really been working this job that I'm not happy with? People have reevaluated where they're at in life, where they want to go, who they want to be. And I think now, moving forward, the reason why we're seeing, stuff like jobs in hospitality, there's 100 million jobs in hospitality right now, but nobody wants to work it. Why? Because, well, everybody was treated like shit. All the chefs were treated like shit. The front of house were treated like shit. And they're like, you know what? I don't need to do that.
It's funny you mentioned that too, because I was in hospitality for a number of years before I started this, dude. And a number of years, dude. And I ended up, leaving that job because I was just so worn out and just so mentally drained, not only with the shitty fucking USB Js on the Friday nights, but the people and the crowds that you'd put up with. It was just, yeah. I liked working with the oldies. I loved doing like the members nights with all the oldies, doing, because I was bar and waiter. So I'd wear two hats. I'd go over and do the waiting. And that was kind of cool. You'd work with the elderly doing the members nights, and even like, some of that front of house stuff was cool. But in the end, I ended up leaving because I was just so mentally fucking drained with it all. I ended up ringing up and go, I'm not coming in. They're like, tonight? No, I'm never fucking coming in. I'm done.
and that's what it's like, I went, 2008 was my last holiday, 2008. That's saying something, like when you've worked for that long, you haven't had a holiday, you've seen no holiday pay because, let's face it, most of the businesses out there, casual, or they just do things however they please, and it's like, wow, that's consumed easily 3/4 of your life, just going into work, and the rest of the time is just sleeping, and then you're like, at home in bed, just completely and utterly fucked. And it's like, your kids are running around, and you're like, I want to be doing stuff with them, not dealing with the dickhead, idiots of the world that just feel so entitled that, they're just,
they can talk to you like shit. And some of the shit I put up with the hospitality, man, was crazy. Yeah, you'd have some good shifts, but dude, they'd be like guys you'd like, well, they're blind rotten drunk. I remember this guy, I cut him off. He come to a reunion. As soon as I walked in the door, he's like giving me shit because of my tattoos and long hair, and I'm thinking, okay, go over to this function, I'm serving this twat. He's blind rotten fucking drunk, and I'm like, cut him off, and he's like threatening to cut me up and shit. And it's like, you're a fucking idiot, mate.
Yeah, I know, right? Like, the last person I had to deal with in the way of that sort of shit, like, he was, I knew what he was doing. Like, there's only one reason why there's like 18 guys in a toilet. Okay, like when you're at a pub, if there's 18 guys in the toilet, there could be two things going on.
Yeah.
And one of them decided, and I knew him, one of them decided to just keep carrying on like an idiot. And I'm like, rightio, well, so be it. Anyway, he's come out of the toilet, and he's still, he's trying to be antagonising. He's standing over the bar. He's being an arrogant little prick. Like, everything is going. I'm like, oh, I'm just fed up. And it just so happens that the cops show up, and the cops walk in, and they start talking to me, and I'm like, yeah, I've had a bit of trouble from that guy, for the last half hour or something, So they've gone over and they've started talking to him, and then the guy has started, sort of yelling at me, not loudly, but going like, oh, you telling on me, I'm like, nah, but I will now. I'd search him if I were you.
That's the thing. That's the thing, though, with hospitality. You would have seen it as well, Damo. And it's funny this has come up in conversation because it's kind of been. I have these conversations and points pop up, and it's very coincidental. But I've been talking about the live music industry and the live metal scene a lot, and I do this a lot. But you'd see this as well, working in hospitality for the years that you do, that the crowds are so much better in the metal communities than whereas a pub on a Friday night with this USB J and all them pretty boy little fuckheads doing what they want to do, like sitting in the toilet, snorting fucking drugs, being absolute tunes, and you go to a metal show and there's no problems at all.
Yeah, I would prefer to run. That's Sean. the new bass player. Yeah, no, like I would prefer to go to a metal show in a million years as opposed to just go to a pub on a Friday night. I mean, there's so much respect in the metal community, and not just for like band members and fans and all of that sort of stuff, but even for business owners. You know, if a venue looks after them, they look after that venue. Like, it's a real tight community. And this is the exact example that we're actually seeing with there's a new place opening up here on the
On
Sunshine Coast
Sunshine
called the
Coast.
Lemon Dive Bar. Yeah. And the local community are going, oh, we don't want this sort of, entertainment in our precinct. And it's like, well, you've got the Soul Bar just around the corner, and that's been playing, bands like what 11 Dive Bar will be playing for the last, what, 5, 6 years, if not longer, and the community are going, oh, we don't want it here, and they're holding council meetings and they're trying to persuade them, and it's like, if you guys only knew what sort of protection a metal community brings to the area, like as it is at the moment, you've got a tavern up the road that shows fight nights, and any half-witted bogan strolls out of there after watching a fight and wants to pick a fight in the middle of the street. You've got the young ones that are roaming around, just bopping around. Like, you can even ask Brad Bromfeld from Nuclear Vision and stuff. Like, he does security work. He has to deal with idiots more so, I reckon, and it's all here on the sunny coast. And he'd probably turn around and go, you know what? The metal community is great. Like, put me in front of, 20,000 people at a metal show and things will be sweet. But don't send me down to Maroochydore fucking Strip because, well, that place is just going to annihilate.
Exactly, and it's funny you mentioned that because I chatted to Tommy Concrete from Scotland the other night, and he said he had a mate who done security. He said the worst crowd he ever done was an Elton John concert. He said every car was punching on, it was wild. And he said the same thing. He said, put me in a metal show any day of the week.
You know what? I actually heard that before as well. Like, my parents went to one, and they were like, the people there were just absolutely disgusting. It's like, and Elton John, like, oh yeah, I guess.
Yeah, it's the same with like those dance clubs though, and we're talking when you go to a metal show, there's nothing but respect for everybody. Like, I've seen like women go over in metal crowds and everyone's gone and picked them up, and other people have fallen over. I've fallen down the pit once before at some big shows, and everyone like reaches down, picks you up. You're chatting to people. I started doing this not knowing anyone. I'd go to shows with severe anxiety and that, and I'm a lot better now for the last few years doing what I'm doing. And the metal community has really helped me come out of my shell a lot more, have conversations, and not knowing people, I put myself out of that comfort zone, but I've been fully embraced as part of the metal community, not only here in Australia, but around the world. And it really amazes me that how good and a sense of community that we have together. But at the shows, I've not seen any violence at any metal show I've been to, and I've been going since I was 18 to metal shows, like over 20 years now.
Yeah, well, it's strange. I think because there's so many genres, so many subgenres, so many of metal is like massive, and not just metal, but your punk, your rock, your everything, and in there is a lot of diversity, and so there's a lot of sort of how would you explain it? There's a lot of different attitudes and mentalities all mixing together, and they go, oh, well, actually, I agree with yours as well, and it starts this trend, and all of these different people start forming and looking after all of these other people in the industry and in the community, and it's like its own little world, and it's great to be a part of. It's fantastic. There's so many people out there who show their respect, show their love, and show their dedication, and I think we need that nowadays. We don't need the the sort of naysayers, I guess.
Yeah, the clickbait journalists, you know what I mean? And that kind of shits me off too. Some of these clickbait journalists and some of the stories are just absolute fucking gutter trash as well. So we don't need those naysayers. We don't need that gutter journalism. You've got some shows coming up. That's what I was leaning towards as well, talking about the live
Yep.
industry. You're supporting Stalker as well. And then you got Metal United Down Under, which is this weekend.
Yeah, that one's going to be interesting.
Yeah. I think, who's playing on that? You got Scafus. Is Scafus playing? Who else is on that list? I'll have to have a
So
look.
we've got Eternal Torment.
Yep.
We did have Bone Seed and we did have Sith Lord.
Yep.
But they're Victorian, so they're not going to be able to get there. Ancient Remains. Did I say that one?
Yeah.
We've got them on there. Yeah, there's so many, to be honest. Heaps of. I'm using the phone at the moment, so I can't even get the front sheet up.
Okay. And then Stalker. We'll talk about the Stalker show for a little bit. How's that, man? That's pretty cool. So, what's that? September 9th at the Flamin Galah, is it?
Yeah, September 9th. So this one is actually it's interesting because it's the very first band to hit Australian shores.
Yep. Yeah.
After the whole COVID sort of stuff, because we've got that that little bubble they like to rave on about. And this band have gone, well, let's take this opportunity to go over there and hit the scene.
Yep.
And I think they've been here two times before, or something like that. And they're absolutely killer. Like, you listen to their latest album, Black Magic Terror, and it's just like you can hear effort behind it. You're like, man, these guys have put in a lot of effort into this. I mean, it was released through Napalm Records, yep. I'm pretty sure. So that's huge in itself, and it's brilliant that they were actually able to pull that off, which was great. But the company that they're choosing to go with was the Your Mate's Bookings. And I saw it pop up and I was like, oh, it'd be, really cool to, play with that band. And at the time, I didn't even think that it was, the first band to hit Australian shores from elsewhere since COVID. And it sort of made it really special now because you're like, well, we haven't seen a band from another country or another place in over a year now, and to have them come across, it just shows, it's like, yeah, like this is going to be cool. Like we got to definitely put on a big show. We've got to party. We've got to have fun. Like this is what music is about. Like other bands coming here, embracing them, and just like having a great time, enjoying it, because we haven't had, proper live shows for such a long time. And I don't know, it's going to be weird. Like, I think when they come, it's because it's something different. You don't know what they've been through for the last year in their country, and it'll be good to just chill out, forget it all, and just party.
Yeah, exactly. It's good to see the live industry starting to go again. And what I've been liking to see, I don't know what it's like up there in Brisbane, but have the shows been like selling out or pretty close to packing out? Have the crowds been really good?
A couple of them have sold out, which has been great.
Yeah.
We played Odison's Fest just a couple of weeks ago, and we're filming that for our upcoming music video. And man, like I didn't expect, the amount of people to show up that did, and it was really, really, really good to have that many people show up for a local show. Normally, like before COVID, you were talking 10, maybe 15, could be 20. Yeah. And the thing is, you knew most of them because they were either a mate who was bored or a family member showing support. It wasn't
Well, the usual 10 guys that come to every show.
Yeah, and then, but now it's like you've actually got these people that you haven't seen before. You've got an active crowd. You've got people enjoying the vibe, enjoying how everything's going, and it's just so different to what it was.
It's encouraging because that's just something I've been trying to plug and push out there as well. Support, especially in the local scene and the live industry going forward. You know, artists have gone through so much, not only the artists, but the industry behind it, you know, the sound engineers, the lighting tech. I know people that are behind the scene that lost jobs pretty well through 2020 and were like, what do we do? Where do we go from here? And the live industry is being such a big part of the local scene as well. You go play live, as I'm always plugging this, you go buy your merch from the bands, you see them, and then they go away, they tell 20 of their fucking mates how good the show was, and then, you know, and then you get that word of mouth and people buying stuff, whereas other people listen on these streaming platforms think they're supporting, but to really support the scene, you've got to get along to these shows, like have them pack out, sell out to help the industry go forward as well.
That's right. And I actually had a rant before COVID, actually. And I was basically saying, like, if I walk into another pub and hear the Eagles playing on the radio one more time, I'm just going to lose my shit.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing, right? Your local pubs, your taverns, your hotels, all of that sort of stuff. They should be looking after the locals. They say they're there for the locals, so start acting like it, you know. And for me, when I was managing the pub that I was, you know, every day I was making sure that on the playlist of what we were playing and stuff like that, there was at least one localized band on that, you know, that played a couple of songs or a few songs, you know. And because the thing is, all of these bands, these classics, these greats, these fantastic, these Guns N' Roses, Metallica and all of them, yeah, that's cool. You can go have a beer and listen to them. But when you're gone and when the band's gone and you've got this younger generation, what are they going to be listening to? Because in about 80 years' time, it's going to have a completely different message. There's going to be a completely different sort of genre. There's going to be everything will be different.
Yep.
So shouldn't we be looking after our bands now and trying to get them furthering their passion and start pumping out some more greats, because they're who the greats are going to be. So at some stage we need to move away from this culture of playing just the same old generic crap through the speakers at a tavern or a pub.
Yeah, Cold Chisel or some shit.
Yeah, you know, start actually, you know, play some 12-gauge Rampage or something.
Yeah, that's cool, that new track. I killed more cunts than COVID, man. I've been hammering that up on the radio as well, man.
Yeah, it's actually they're doing really well, and we're playing a few shows with them as well. So that's really cool.
Yeah. And I love Aussie Metal. That's hence I picked up this name when I was doing radio a few years ago for a station out of Denver, and it's like, oh well, fuck, I play Aussie Metal. Just drive the Aussie Metal guy, and it's just, for me, it was a way of plugging the Aussie scene as well. So when you hear my name, you're always thinking about Aussie Metal as well, and support these shows, because to have a strong live industry, and you go and get these international bands over, but you know, Adelaide is a bit hit and miss at times. We do that. We sit back and we go, oh, we don't have this band come, they miss fucking. Well, you're not supporting the live industry. To have a strong fucking local live industry, people packing out the venues at your local shows and the Aussie bands, people aren't going to come. If you can't even fill up a fucking go and see your local show, why the hell would I bring my fucking big international band to Adelaide if you can't even get along and support your own fucking scene?
That's right, you know, and it's funny because everybody wants to be that person who knew that person before they blew up or got big. But yet, none of them will go to their shows. They'll just go, oh, they came from Brisbane. I'm going to say I went to one of their shows. But the reality is, like, if you want any band to, you know, be successful or get their word out there, or, you know, if anything, like, you need to be supporting in it. You need to be supporting it. It's like a charity, only
Better.
maybe a better return.
You're getting something back too. I just love music. I love listening to new music, and I love supporting this scene. And it's always this hand in hand thing. And when I get lost in the music and I go on a journey with the album, it's like it's definitely not a charity. It's something that I'm very, very proud of supporting and getting behind in the music industry. And I know there are a lot of people like that. And once these other Spotify fucking knob jockeys get over their fucking playlist and shit and pushing that shit, yeah, I know it's very.
Don't worry about them. Everybody has an expiry.
I know, because it's this thing where people work their ass off to make music, and then people sit back and listen to it on Spotify and go, I support the band. I listen to them on Spotify. It's like, do you really?
You see, Spotify will be great. They'll be great for the next 100 years for radio stations. They're not going to have an impact for much longer in the music industry. People are cluing on, the arts are changing, and even now, like, the Australian government gave the arts a really big kick in the face and pretty much told us we weren't worth shit. And because of that, they're going to find that bands and artists and across the board, they're going to be more reluctant to do anything for them, and they're going to find other ways around stuff now that isn't appeasing, like the beast.
Yeah.
Things like Spotify, Deezer, all of that sort of shit, they all have an expiry. Yeah. And it's coming very soon.
And the sound quality, I talked about this as well, the sound quality is shit. If you're only listening to an artist on Spotify and Deezer and those fucking shitty-ass platforms, I assure you, if you go buy the album, you put that in your fucking stereo, you'll sit back and like you're listening to it the first time. The quality is just unreal, and you can't fuck with it. And I like platforms like Bandcamp where you can go buy the album. Even if you're a big digital listener, you can go put down the money and you're supporting the band and you're buying the album, and you can get to their merch through there. And, out of all of it, I think that's one of the best ones. And it's good when I see artists that are actually doing really well. Inhuman Condition just dropped a killer death metal album, and they sold out vinyl all through their Bandcamp. They had all these hits on there. So it is encouraging for me to see people going, giving fucking Spotify and those platforms a finger and going, fuck you, mate, and going and buying albums.
Yeah, well, that's it. I would rather walk into like a Cash Converters and buy a CD than have to resort to using Spotify. Spotify is great if you want to listen to something like George Benson or
some Talking Heads or something.
I did that the other day. I don't know why, but it's great for that sort of stuff. But it's useless. It's useless. All it's done is give people this attitude and mentality of on demand, and there's some bands out there who are joining in and constantly churning out new material on demand basis. Yeah. And I don't believe it's doing them any justice.
No.
That it is. If you've got something worthwhile, do it well, and put it out into the world. And the ones who notice it are the ones who you want to notice it. If it goes up on Spotify, it's just this algorithm. And it's like, it isn't going to put your music in front of somebody else's music. It isn't going to put them in front of, the latest pop chart and go, hey, this dirty old band from Platoon that just released this track. Like, it's all designed for the bands to lose. And it's also for the listeners to lose. if you're truly passionate about music and bands and you want to find something new, then go out and find something new.
Yeah.
You will not find it on Spotify, and you will not find it on even stuff like Facebook. You won't find it. If you want it, you've got to go out and find it.
Yeah, it's good. The more you dig, though, the more you get out. I've been doing this for coming up on 5 years, and I'm learning every single day, finding new bands, coming across new bands, hearing stuff that I'm like, where the fuck have I been? And I can tell you I didn't find one of those bands through Spotify.
Yeah, that's right. You know, and you've just got to, try things out. Find what you're looking for in the way of music, because when you do, you'll be happy.
Yeah, and getting along to shows. Metal United Down Under, we have Odious, Eternal Torment. I bought that album too, dude, through Bandcamp as well. Really, really cool. Got the Almighty Death Plague. And we have Ancient Remains and Therion, isn't it, man? That's going to be really cool. Black Cruise Entertainment. It's this weekend. It is, whereabouts? What venue? The Flamin Galah.
Galah, yep.
Yeah. How's that? $16 for a ticket, man. You can't go fucking wrong.
You can't go wrong at all. Like $16. What are you going to buy with it? You can't even buy like a candy bar down the road for $16 now, and like you can buy like a ticket to watch like 6 bands play.
Yeah, I know. And so you want to take your $16 down there. You want to chip away a little bit more money, because if you're like me, you're going to want to buy a shit ton of merch at the shows. That's one thing I'm really bad for is merch. I'm glad I'm not a big drinker anymore, because I spend too much money on merch when I go to shows.
Yeah, merch is another thing. We are so slack with merch, but we do have some cool stuff coming.
That's going to be really cool, man. What's track are you? What's next? You've got the Panoramic Bloodscape EP coming up. You roughly know when you're dropping that, or when should we keep in?
So we're just checking across this avenue at the moment that we've got available to us. I won't say too much about it. But, you know, I'm sort of hoping in the next couple of months. And everybody has been really patient, which is good. But I have put, you know, most of the songs up in places. So you've got a couple of the tracks on the Facebook page, and then you've got a couple of the tracks on 4ZZZ, and that's, you know, you either go to Facebook or 4ZZZ. You won't find it on Spotify. You won't find it on Deezer or iTunes. Like, not yet. But you know, maybe go have a look at those other places first before you look at Spotify and all of that sort of shit.
And that's the reason I like doing radio, because it is a pure form of supporting the scene as well. You know, I'd sit there and listen to stuff on the radio, write it down, and then I'd go track it down. And it was always a great relationship between radio and the musicians as well. So it's good to see decent stations like what I've got with that metal station now, that are actually getting along and supporting the scene and really getting behind the artists and pushing that support factor as well.
Yeah, and it's, you've got to, you know, it's at that time. Yeah, you got to be embracing the ones who are embracing the scene. Yeah, you know, and anybody who's an outsider, don't even bother. Like, don't even waste your time.
No, that's it. Awesome, Damo. I reckon we might sign out, bro. This has been an absolutely great chat. I'm hoping to get up to Brisbane and see you soon, man. That would be really good now everything's opening up.
I would love to get down to South Australia. Hopefully, very soon. Get down there and play a show, and catch up with all of you guys.
Yeah, cool, man. If you ever did, I'll be front row center, bro. That's for sure.
Oh, sick.
Killer.
Yeah, definitely. Just the Stalker show. Make sure you get along to it. You know, support these guys. They've come over from NZ. It is at the end of the pandemic. You know, and get this place cranking again.
That's it. Awesome, mate. Thank you very much.
Thanking you for having me on the show, man.
Cheers, bro.